there aren't a lot of people putting pen to paper when it comes to Urdu. Tell me a bit about that. Reflect for me a bit on that.
See, I think it's, I hate to say it, but I think it's kind of dying, so much as we would not want it to. And people like me who are non-Urdu speaking, if we bring it out, and I think it's my little small effort to keep the tradition alive. In fact, in India, it should be a compulsory language to be taught, especially, for example, in Bihar or in UP, where there's a large segment of Urdu-speaking people, but it's not.
You know, this whole aspect about very few people putting pen to paper when it comes to, writing Urdu poetry. Why is it? I mean, why is it dying out? Is there not a market for it, you think? No. Or what do you think is?
I think there's a market for it. I think why Urdu suffered was, Urdu somehow has been now associated with Muslims. Though it was never a Muslim language, it was for Hindustanis, spoken in India, and going back time off when it was called Hindui.
Yeah.
From Akbar's period. And in fact, the first Hindi book that was written in Urdu, Hindi book written in Urdu. Yeah. But I think what has happened, when you speak to younger generation, say 50 plus, they'll all say, कि अरे हमारे बाप दादा सब उर्दू पढ़ते थे. So, and oh, what a sweet language. Then you ask them, जब पढ़ते थे, तो why did the language die?
Yeah.
I think partition did us it was a great disadvantage to Urdu language, because it straight away
it became sort of much more political. It got political auto.
Communalized. And
okay.
That was the problem with Urdu.
What else can people do at a sort of personal level to kind of revive Urdu and Urdu poetry? Because lots of people, like you said, whenever I talk to people about this, everyone says sweet language and poetic language, but seems to be people seem to grapple with this, especially when you're abroad. Tell me, what's one thing that you can do?
I mean, to be honest, I'd just like to add one thing. If in India the language had issues because of being politicized, in other countries where it's not, for example like Pakistan, it's still struggling with Urdu language, and everybody's talking about the fact that it's dying. And that's because there is a larger power at hand, which is English. So it's not that Urdu is suffering because within one particular country like India, most of the languages are struggling because they have to have a space. This is a modern generation is, you're more or less driven by tech, and technology is driven more or less based on English, even though on the internet you can get local languages. Yeah. But majority of the content is driven in English. So as you grow up, the most prestigious universities, all schools, being English medium is much more, because then you're more a global person. And Urdu as a niche is staying back with the generation which is on the way.
That's a beautiful point, and that's something that actually, I was speaking to a British writer the other day, and he told me that he finds it sort of amazing that, the fact that an English writer today in the subcontinent is able to sort of, make a lot of money, firstly, to begin with, have a big name, but it's writers in Hindi and Urdu who are actually sort of, we hardly know of names. Reflect for me a bit about this, for example, because I know that, you've lived abroad for a long time. Tell me, I mean, within communities abroad, is there a space to sort of, revive poetry, revive Urdu? Can that be sort of reinvented, you think?
Very much so, actually. पहली बात तो ये कि मेरा तो सर शर्म से डूब रहा है, कि coming from a Muslim family, और हम लोग खुद क्या कहते हैं, उर्दू बोलना तो दूर की बात है, लिख तो सकते ही नहीं है, मतलब पढ़ना तो और भी मुश्किल है, हिचे लगा के मतलब नहीं करते. अब क्यों? The reason I come back to your question later, exactly catching up on Huma's point, कि हम लोग को अंग्रेजी स्कूलों में भेजा गया. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. सुबह शाम हम लोग करते थे. मारे जाते थे अगर हम उर्दू बोलते थे स्कूल में, कि you have to speak English, really. तो जब मौलवी साहब आते थे, तो हर तरह का बहाना होता था. तख्ती नहीं जी, पानी बरस रहा था तो तख्ती नहीं हमने साफ की, बिकॉज वो मुल्तानी मट्टी से उस ज़माने में करी जाती थी. नरकुल का पेन होता था, really, तो I know you're laughing because you think it's my age now.
But why are you laughing?
No, I agree with you, because we made every excuse get out of it, and much to that we regretted today that we didn't.
So I mean, how can you tell younger people then? I mean, so that the mistakes that has been made by one generation is not sort of made by the next? Or is it too late?
No, it's not too late actually. It's not too late simply because unless we parents realize that responsibility, हम लोग घर में अंग्रेजी बोलते रहते हैं without even realizing it. अब हम अपनी छोटी बेटी 8 साल की है, उसको मार मार के अब उर्दू बुलवाते हैं, कि बोलो, उसको लालच देते हैं कि भाई इफ़ यू डोंट डू दिस, इफ़ यू डोंट टेल मी इन उर्दू, आई एम नॉट लिसनिंग टू यू, लेकिन
Which is so interesting, which is exactly the opposite of what happened with your generation, with you, exactly.
It's exactly that, really. But यहाँ पे जब तक हम, you see, हमें एक तो यहाँ आके identity crisis होता है. We always feel that we have to be better than everybody else. In every field, we have to do something better.
There's an immigrant angle to this as well. I mean, immediately you want to fit in, and you don't want to be, kind of pigeonholed into speaking a particular language.
अंदाज मेरे साहिरी तुम्हारी है, अशार मेरे शायरी तुम्हारी है.
But apart from writing a book, what else can people do at a sort of personal level to kind of revive Urdu and Urdu poetry? Because lots of people, like you said, lots of people, whenever I talk to people about this, everyone says sweet language and poetic language, but there seems to be people seem to be to grapple with this, especially when you're abroad. Tell me, what's one thing that you can do?
The new generation of young singers who are singing in Urdu and the ghazals and fusion music, that's keeping it alive in the younger generation, because that really encourages them to continue to at least, be able to converse in it and understand it.
Usually wherever I go, everyone tells me that Bollywood is the most corrupting influence on language. But there you go. At least you have somebody saying something positive about it.
There is a difference on the purity of the language. Maybe yes, but the thing is, कि purity खत्म हो गई है. इसको थोड़ा सा मानना पड़ेगा. And maybe
it's a more practical approach to
Let's put it this way. Let's not say that Urdu is dying. Urdu is being transformed into and evolving maybe into a simpler form.
Interesting. That's you've put it very sort of it's a very pragmatic look at how languages change, and how perhaps that's what's going on. I mean, it's not corruption or it's not dying, but it's maybe being reborn. All of you, you have to name for me your favorite Urdu poet. If you don't know about this poet, you have to go and find out about this poet. That's the assignment of the day. I'll start with you, ma'am. Your favorite poet, and maybe one or two lines if you remember, if you can recite for us.
बचपन में I grew up with poetry of Ghalib, but I'll recite a share of my father, Dr. Kamal Ahmed Siddiqui, who dedicated his life at Ghalib Institute. So शेर अर्ज़ किया, कुछ लोग जो खामोश हैं ये सोच रहे हैं, कुछ लोग जो खामोश हैं ये सोच रहे हैं कि सच बोलेंगे जब सच के दाम बढ़ेंगे.
Wow. Fantastic. What about you, ma'am?
Oh goodness, मेरे तो जी अलामा इकबाल was the all-time favorite. लेकिन फैज़ उनका शेर तो मैं नहीं पढ़ूंगी, लेकिन बोल के लब आज़ाद हैं तेरे की जो पोइट्री है is very revolutionary and I totally relate to it. But number one, Allama Muhammad Iqbal.
Okay. Any words that come to mind? Anything that you want to recite?
Iqbal, oh good. तू शाही है बसेरा कर पहाड़ों की चरानों पर, और इस तरह के there's so many of them, but he is relevant to the universe. That's what I love.
Okay. Farooq sir, what about you? I'm going to give you a count of 1, 2 and 3. Tell me the name of the poet, and or actually, you know what? Don't tell me the name of the poet. We'll ask viewers to guess the name of the poet. Recite for me. You'll have to do that as well. Bilkul. One or two lines.
गुफ्तगू हो तो सफ़र ख़त्म कहाँ होता है, गुफ्तगू हो तो सफ़र ख़त्म कहाँ होता है, और यूँ तो हर मोड़ पे मंजिल का गुमा होता है.
क्या बात है. Fantastic. So this is a quiz on Out of England. Do tweet me at @r_joggy, or you can send us your feedback at ndtv.com. Tell us who said that, and if you have any poetry or any shairi at all to share with us, please do so. I'm here very delighted to be joined by two groups of, I should say, business partners and home partners in setting up businesses. Tell me, I'll start with you first. Tell me a bit about your business. What do you do, and why did you go into business?
My main business is selling drinks. A company called Red Sky Wines. We supply wine, beer, whiskey, and soft drinks to the pub and clubs and hotels. And I came into the business, purely by chance or by luck. I started business when I was 22 years old, and just after one year when I came in this country in 2004. And since then, I've been always from day one, while I was in school or college, I wanted to be kind of like sitting on a first table. And then now again, when I came in this country as well, I wanted to do something, and make something different for myself, for my family.
So how did you start out? You're 22 years old. So how did you start out?
Dreams.
What's that?
Is that
Dreams? Is
yeah,
that
he
the
was
starting
he
point?
was a big dreamer, and when you have dreams, then you definitely focus yourself to work towards it.
Yeah.
So that's what he did. I mean, because I know this because he always tells me about it, and so it's that he said that he used to dream about it, and then he started working towards it. So that slowly and slowly, things.
So I mean, what
went
did you do
positive.
first? Did you set up a small shop, or what did you do? Tell me a bit about.
And in 19th of January 2004, I started delivering beer barrels, wine, beer, whiskey to the pub and clubs and hotels, just by my own, and lifting all the heavy stuff, while I was living in a rented accommodation with friends in Hounslow. Yeah. And since then, slowly we grown the business. And then I bought a big house with a big garden. And after in 2007, then I bought a warehouse in Slough. So since then, things are, fantastic.
And why did you choose this business that keeps you in high spirits? Huh? Is it?
It's very interesting, to be honest. I never tasted any alcohol.
You don't drink?
No drink. And we import wines from all over the world. All I smell it. So I say by chance.
Tell me a bit about your business. What do you do?
We run a chauffeur company. We look after various clients of our own and from other chauffeur companies, and based around London mainly, but we cover the whole of the country.
Okay. How did you start out? Both of you are business partners, is that correct?
Yes, Muda and I work together. I started kind of through my family. It was something my father got into through just a fluke. He ended up trying to find something to do and got into chauffeuring. And that became kind of a family business, which I got involved in because you can't escape a family business. You get brought into it. Yeah. And then during that, I met Uday. And then I lived abroad for a few years. And when I came back, we decided to go into business together. And now we're working together.
And Uday, you tell me off camera that everyone in your family are sort of engineers and doctors and things like that. How come chauffeuring business, and that to a business? I mean, is that are you ticking all the boxes to sort of being the black sheep in the family?
Well, yeah, I'm definitely ticking all the boxes, that's for sure. But no five fingers are the same. So I firmly believe, and I will till the day I die, that you should do something that you enjoy and something you believe in. And I believe to my fullest and to my heart, and this man will vouch for that, that any business you do, whether it's delivering drinks or ferrying VIPs and dignitaries around London, if you do it to the best of your ability.
But you can't do both at the same time. Huh? You should not be drinking and then driving.
Well, no, obviously not. But
even if you enjoy.
No, obviously not.
What to you is continues to be the hardest bit about being an entrepreneur, about being a businessman? What is to you, one thing that you feel is that's really, really difficult? What would you say?
I think it's business changes, markets change, people change, and you have to keep adapting to that. Yeah. People want different things, they see different things, new things in the market, and you have to keep moving with that to keep up with them. Okay.
Well, what about the both of you? One thing that you find is really difficult about doing business. What would you say?
To be honest, I'm a very positive person, I always, even during the recession as well, when the pubs were shutting down, restaurant was closing down, I just believe you do whatever you invest in, you do your 100%, and God will, do the rest.
Okay, so it's kind of being optimistic is one. Okay.
Optimistic.
What about you? One like he's pointed to a quality, of being an entrepreneur. What do you think? What's one good quality you need?
For being an entrepreneur. Positive attitude, definitely. And he's not only a good entrepreneur, but a good husband and a good father.
Okay.
He's definitely, in spite of his...
You're not just saying that because he's standing beside you, no?
Definitely. I would rather... he knows me very well. I'm so open. Okay. And it's just that even in spite of...
How does he get time to sort of, while he's running that? Yeah, sure.
In spite of his being very busy, having a busy schedule, he's always there to give us time on weekends. Yeah. So, but he just wants me to plan out, and then he just wants that be authoritative and let me know what he wants. So
you're the boss. So you're the boss at home.
He does.
She's the boss at home.
She's the boss at home. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, one quality, one thing that you think you really sort of
belief. Mm-hmm. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing more, nothing less.
Okay.
Self-belief.
Self-belief. And how has that worked for you?
How does it work for me?
Yeah.
How it's worked for me is that, you know, I strive to do the best I can, and I sincerely hope we can, through belief. You know, that's I have in my office at home, you know, I have captions by sportsmen and women, you know, about self, you know, motivation, things like that. Because day in and day out, sometimes it becomes a bit of a chore. And you can sort of cut corners.
Correct.
In your business or any field, but it's trying to do things with sincerity and humility as well at the same time, which is very important as well.
And one more thing I'll be adding, taking everyone together. You know, like whenever he does have anything, he does discuss with me. He does discuss, and even he takes his staff together. So that's very important when you make them feel that yes, we are working together for our goal.
To kind of be a leader, really good leader.
It's very important.
You have to work as a team.
I want to, before I wrap, I want to ask all of you, what is to you one mantra for surviving a tough recession? Because everybody knows that, you know, this country has been going through a really tough recession. The rule of the game is you're not allowed to repeat anything, any sort of mantra that's already been said before, okay? So ladies first, tell me, to you in one sentence, what would you say is a real mantra for survival? You know, what would you say is something that all entrepreneurs should remember? If you were to write something on your wall, what would that be?
Just again, it's optimistic attitude, and no matter what happens, you should just have an optimistic attitude, saying that yes, there is God and there is something for everyone. So you should be happy and satisfied rather than being, you know, not being happy
and worried about business order.
Because when you worry, then you make a wrong decision. So that's not a good thing.
Okay. I thought you were going to say drink some of our alcohol or something.
Sure.
Okay. No, that's not a good tip. What about who's going to go first? Well, if you were to write something on your wall, what would that be about? You know, about surviving a tough recession. Who's going to go first? Gary, you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, just working hard, really. I mean, you've just got to keep working, keep believing, and whatever happens, if you're working and doing your best, then you'll come through the other side.
Okay. Well, what about you?
As you said, you can't repeat anything, but just remember where you started from. I think that's very important in your day-to-day life. And
so it's important to sort of measure yourself from your sort of starting point. That'll put things into perspective. Okay, one survival mantra.
I think realistic and proper planning. Yeah, proper planning. Yeah.
So while, you know, there are big dreams and things like that, it's very important to plan and be realistic.
You have to plan it, you know, and write it on your paper and follow them.